Every man who knocks on the door of a brothel is looking for God.
So I was listening to an audiobook by Russell Brand recently on recovery, and he was saying that in a way, those of us, he said, who are alcoholics and heroin addicts, and like, we have it easier because I think his point was there was something more obvious to identify.
Yes.
This is Dr. Dan Allender, and he was just on Matt Fradd's podcast. You guys probably know Matt Fradd, right? Pints with Aquinas. And they just had a really interesting section of this conversation. The title of their video is "You'll Never See Sexual Addiction the Same." And the reason I'm featuring this today is that I think that the topic of sexuality has a lot to do with, believe it or not, Christianity and even apologetics, because I think a lot of times it's these types of issues that are sort of beneath the surface that are really guiding someone's perception of themselves, the exterior world, and ultimately God. And so I think this is actually, in a sort of unexpected way, a really relevant conversation to the mission of this channel. Let's dive in.
You have Chesterton's brilliant phrase, every man who knocks on the door of a brothel is looking for God. So it doesn't excuse, but it opens the door to that question of what are you finding in a sexual moment that actually is a spiritual issue, a psychological, a relational issue that you have not tended to. So you don't break addiction by mere control. That's the absolute opposite. If you know anything about the 12 steps, you begin with the first step, owning your desperation. And every addict I've ever had the privilege of working with has come to something of that moment of desperation, of being able to say, I am dying and I'm near death. It's at that moment, for me, 19, 20-year-old man walking on the street, having to face, I could be dead any moment in a drive-by shooting. So there's something of the gift of death that has to be engaged.
The privilege of desperation, which might sound like a paradox or might sound contradictory, but there is a awareness of the actual state of things that a person comes to when they're desperate and when they're faced with the reality of their own limited power and their own inability to solve their deepest problems. That actually brings to the surface the true substructure of the human experience, that we actually do have a fundamental baked in problem. There really is a widespread problem with the human race that we're all facing in different ways, and is sort of manifesting itself or instantiating itself in different ways in people. But it really is there. And it's often the addict who comes to that awareness before the person who thinks and in the illusion that everything is hunky-dory when it's not. So I really like this point.
The uncertainty of what it will be like to be in the presence of God. So all that stirs us, at least at the beginning, to go, how did the harm I suffered? So when we talk about sexual abuse, I think of it in these categories. Someone groomed you. So how were you, I'm not asking, it's a rhetoric, how were you introduced to pornography? Because almost every introduction to pornography came from somebody else. You didn't find a magazine on the highway. Yeah, some people do, about 1 in a million. But you got invited up into a treehouse by 2 older boys, and you wanted to join the club. So they invited you up, and then they show you these magazines. Why? Because they want to see you aroused. And so you're up in the treehouse, you're looking at magazines, and one of the boys says, if you touch yourself in this way, blah, 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 blah. Well, most of the men that I've worked with have never addressed that moment was a form of sexual abuse. You got groomed, you got set up, you got drawn into a relationship where to look at that person and to say, I'm not going to look at that magazine. I'm not going to touch myself in that way. I'm getting out of the treehouse. Are you really believing that an 8-year-old, 9-year-old boy has the fortitude and clarity, when many adults don't, to be able to say no to that? We are people who long to belong. We were made to be in community. And so often community sets you up in a context for a relationship where the groomer, the adult, the older child, the next door neighbor. So when we look at abuse, about 26% is perpetrated in the home, what we call intrafamilial or incest. About 66% of abuse is perpetrated by people who live in the neighborhood or somebody you know, but is not part of your family. That leaves only about 8% of abuse perpetrated by a total stranger. Because you have an 8-year-old neurological set in your brain. So if we can engage that 8-year-old who hates his body because he stayed in the treehouse and then bore a sense of, again, that judgment, that contempt against himself. Now, does that go away? It doesn't until you begin the process of dismantling something of that shame power in your own heart and body at that moment.
It's been said before that connection is the opposite of addiction. And this idea that he's talking about, that there's a emotional, psychological, and relational component to every addiction. We're turning to some small thing in hopes that it will be big enough to fill the void that we experience in our souls. And tragically, it never is. The sponsor of today's video actually directly ties into this and the need for community as a part of getting free from specifically sexual addiction. I find it to be very sad, the amount of people and also Christians who are struggling with pornography. We know now both neuroscientifically and spiritually how damaging it is to a human being. Recently, I received an email from a subscriber that really hit me. He said he'd been praying for help, and then just a couple hours later, he heard me giving an ad on this channel for this app. He downloaded it immediately, and he told me weeks later that it had been exactly what he was looking for. The app is called Relay. Relay is a community-based app that is designed to help you break free from pornography and stay free from pornography. It combines daily accountability, evidence-based tools and skills, and a supportive community of guys all walking this same road. If you're tired of the cycle, this is one of the most effective solutions I've been able to find. And here's the best part. Relay is so confident that you will see results in your first 30 days that they offer a full money-back guarantee. If you're currently struggling in the shadows with this, today can be the day that things start to change. Take a stand right now. Click the link in the description and use my code WISDOM to get 7 days completely free. Give Relay an honest try. If it helps, and I believe it will, it'll be one of the best decisions that you ever made. I think you know that. And if for whatever reason it's not the right fit, you can get your money back, no questions asked. You don't have to fight this alone anymore, is the point. You were never meant to. Check out the link in the description below. See you back in the video.
Is there healing? Oh, profound. The Spirit of God has the ability to bring a sense of grief and anger in a way that brings comfort, but also that appropriate sense of anger against
Amen.
the one who did you harm.
You know, I think I was listening. I was listening to an audiobook by Russell Brand recently on recovery, and he was saying that in a way, those of us, he said, who are alcoholics and heroin addicts, and like we have it easier because I think his point was there was something more obvious to identify.
Yes.
So, do you encounter that where people are like, yeah, okay, but I was never abused. I don't know how to relate to you now, right? Someone might say, because I wasn't abused in a treehouse or in a locker room, and yet I find myself with this compulsive behavior or something. So like how am I to find the threads of that when it's
totally important? Look, the more subtle, the more satanic.
Really?
That's a good question.
I mean, I totally agree with what he said in that I get to work with a lot of what I'll call good, salt of the earth Christians who would say just what you said. You know, I had a good family. I was never harmed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And a part of me wants to go, well, is your family open to adoption? Like, I'd be glad to become part of your family. But let me ask a couple questions. Do you believe in sin? And do you believe your parents were sinners? And do you actually think sin is an issue of lust and anger, adultery, and murder? So if you do, then no matter how good a parent, your sin is going to affect your children.
I think this is so critical, what they just said, which is that if you think about sin as a concept that is made up within the pages of the Bible, it's something that Christians believe or that Christians fabricate or make up, you're making a huge mistake. There is a real damaging effect that sin has on your soul, whether you believe in sin or not, or whether you believe in the soul or not. That will still play itself out in your life. And so I think this is a key point that is being made here.